make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Good evening. Welcome into Greenie Sports Cards Live. It is Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. here on the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time Zone in Cleveland, Ohio, where we are based. Greenie Sports Cards, of course, out of Twinsburg, Ohio, and all points in between. We've got a really packed show tonight. Lots of news to go over, some sad, some interesting news from the hobby world. We've got an exclusive interview with Halloween's Cody Robinson, who joined us at the Medina County Collectors Fair this past weekend. We'll also recap that a little bit. Daryl Ruiter from 92.3 The Fan and It's Always Game Day in Cleveland joined Greenie out at the show, and we'll recap that a little bit on the events of this weekend. We'll talk about some of the shows that are upcoming that Greenie's involved with. Both on the production side and attending a couple of really big shows here coming up in the next few weeks. But we've got news about Ohtani. We've got news about LeBron James, of course, Pete Rose and others. Couple of auctions, couple of new releases in the card world. So we're going to get right to it and go ahead and welcome in the man himself, Steve Greenberg, aka Greenie, whose namesake is on the show. This show, many shows, and some custom cards themselves. Greenie, what's going on?
Hey, Jeremy. We are recovering from a great weekend in Medina. The second Medina County Collectors Fair happened this past weekend with our friends at Operation Fandom. So long weekend, a lot of standing on our feet, a lot of moving around, a lot of people through the doors. And, you know, it's time to take a day to recover. And now we're kind of back at it.
Yeah, there's no rest for the Wicked or Greenie and Greenie Sports Cards team. We want to kind of start off, not that we want to start off with some sad news, but there's been a lot of news from the pop culture world, the sporting world, a couple of big names that have passed recently, and we want to give some respect and mention a couple names here at the top. Dikembe Mutombo passed away yesterday. That was on the heels of Chris Christopherson, who we learned about recently, and of course the biggest name of them all, Pete Rose, passed away today. We found out that Frank Fritz from American Pickers passed away, as well as John Amos, the actor. So just a unfortunate slew of news from the hobby space and the hobby world. Greenie, starting out with Dikembe, his legacy extends well beyond his remarkable Hall of Fame basketball career. He's also celebrated for contributions in the humanitarian space, particularly in his home country of the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is a man who he came to Georgetown to attend college following the heels of Patrick Ewing, and the guy he was fluent in 9 different languages. He gave tons and tons of money back to his home country, and funding education in schools. And when you kind of reflect on it, he's not the biggest name center to ever grace the courts, but he really had a pretty remarkable career in reflection, which he earned his Hall of Fame nomination and induction. But here's a guy who's second all time in blocks. He was an 8-time All-Star. He was a 4-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, and he led the NBA twice in rebounding. He was an all-rookie team, and his number 55 was actually retired by both the Atlanta Hawks and the Denver Nuggets. And of course, he was inducted in 2015 into the Hall of Fame. Greenie, how does the hobby space view Dikembe Mutombo and how he's viewed through that prism? This is a guy with a tremendous career. What is the view from the hobby space?
He actually does have a pretty good collector base. Basketball is an international game, as we know, and it's collected all over the world. But yeah, Dikembe, for his defensive accolades, was pretty well collected all over the world, and some of his rare cards fetched real big dollars. So, and that's before yesterday as well. And I know there's always an uptick, a day or two after something like this happens, but you know, it'll settle back into the normal dollars. But yeah, he will be remembered, the famous, finger waving when he would block your shot. And, I think he did it to Michael Jordan, and that probably wasn't his greatest decision as a player. But yeah, he was a lot of fun to watch. And, whether I remember watching him at Georgetown right after Patrick Ewing was there, and, then on in the NBA. But yeah, he was always fun to watch.
He was fun. He must have had a tremendous sense of humor as well. I recall some ESPN commercials where he's running through, smacking people around, saying no, 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 and also with later on with some insurance. I think maybe Progressive could be another. Shows you
Yeah.
what a great ad it was. I don't remember which company, but
Yeah.
he, he must have had a great sense of humor. In the pop culture space, Chris Christopherson kind of led off the celebrity news most recent. He's a guy. He appeared both in films and music. I think a couple of the hits were "Me and Bobby McGee," "Sunday Morning Coming Down," and he appeared. I think in the Blade series was probably his most prominent recent slew of films that people would recognize him. But he was in A Star Is Born and was nominated for a Golden Globe at that time. So Chris Christopherson, of course, the hobby space, American Pickers came on the scene and was a huge hit show. And that was led by Frank Fritz and his participation, along with his co-host, Mike Wolf. But surprised to learn there were about 308 episodes that he appeared in from 2010 to 2021. And his personality, his knowledge really kind of drove that show and brought, picking and sort of hobbies to the forefront. Do you have any recollections of that show and Frank's contribution to the hobby?
It's funny in the bank office, we have a TV in there, and we have, of course, Sports Center on in the morning, but a lot of times during the day we'll put on American Pickers, and we gain knowledge from shows like that. So some of the things, maybe we don't know about, or some of the things that there's some sports that they have on there. May not agree with their prices, but sometimes, we do learn. And then when we're out, at a house doing a call or evaluating some things, we're not afraid to buy other things because we've learned about them on TV shows like this.
I think the show and Frank in particular helped popularize the concept of picking and
Yeah,
bringing
sure,
attention to the value of preserving historical artifacts and just the uniqueness, I guess, of the hunt. Like when you've been through this multiple times, that when you open
sure.
up a storage locker or you go into somebody's basement or you've got an estate sale or collection, sometimes you really don't know what you're going to get.
No, absolutely. I mean, we've been to houses, for sports cards, and we walk away with an Olympic torch. I mean, there's there's different things that you can buy, and we've learned a little bit about the signs. That I think that's a lot that they did on American Picker, some of the old, advertising signs and things of that nature, and beer signs and different cans and things like that. We've learned not a ton about, but enough to where we're able to buy some of those things when we go out on visits.
Frank Fritz was 60 years old. Dikembe was 58.
Mm.
That's not that old. Those are younger guys. A guy who I was a little saddened to learn about the news today. Of course, we don't know many of these people personally, but we connect to them through collections and movies and memorabilia. And one of those is John Amos, who was in one of my all-time favorite movies, Coming to America. And his career spanned about 5 decades. He was on Good Times. His role in Roots was an iconic role that kept him relevant and at the top of mind for producers and directors in the film industry henceforth. So, it was just another name piling on to this this series of news. And then yesterday found out the passing of Pete Rose. And Pete has a legacy, a mixed legacy of extraordinary achievements on the field and significant controversies off of it. He had a record-breaking career. He had a relentless playing style, nicknamed by the moniker Charlie Hustle. He has a indelible place in baseball history, and equal scandal off of it. So, what were your first thoughts in hearing the passing of Peter Edward Rose?
Yeah, it's definitely sad. We had a chance to meet Pete at the National Sports Collectors Convention a few months ago. He appeared at there's a picture there. He appeared at the vendor dinner, and I had a chance to go up and talk to him for probably 2 or 3 minutes, but still, 2 or 3 minutes with the guy that had the most hits in the history of baseball. He's a reason a lot of people played baseball and played it as hard as he did. So, yeah, definitely a sad day in baseball, and a guy that was revered and loved on the diamond, and probably hated as much off of it for things that he did afterwards. So, he had the ups and downs, of probably the most, right?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, the swings. And before we get to a bit of that recap, want to give just kind of a sense of his career and some of the highlights. I mean, it's pages and pages of stuff that that he achieved. Of course, he holds the records for all-time career hits, 4,256, games played, career singles, career at bats over 14,000. And then when you look at the achievements, he's a 17-time All-Star. He achieved that in 5 different positions, which is also a record: second base, left field, right field, third base, and first base. He's a 3-time World Series champion. He's an NL MVP. He's a World Series MVP. He was a Rookie of the Year, 2-time Gold Glove winner, Roberto Clemente Award winner, Silver Slugger, 3-time National League batting champion. He made the Major League All-Century team. It's just, from a playing standpoint, I think why it's somewhat controversial keeping him out is because he is the quintessential first ballot inductee, one of the top players of all time. So there's no question that he belongs in the Hall of Fame from a playing standpoint. The controversy comes from something he did illegally that affected the game, and that was gambling. That was betting on his team.
Mhm.
Allegedly to win, but nonetheless, it was against the rules. It was a violation of the rules. There's reasons why that could affect the game too, and your decisions, and why it's illegal. And now here we are with gambling so closely affiliated with the game of baseball and athletics itself, with legalized gambling and the opportunity to place bets in real time and bet on games. It's really kind of a mixed legacy, and I would say at this point, he should not go into the Hall of Fame. If they were not going to put him in while he was here to appreciate it and enjoy it, I think it would be a shame if he finally did get inducted.
I agree with you. You know, obviously, you and I have never played professional sports, but we've been in locker rooms. And even as a kid, when I would go into locker rooms with my dad, maybe not baseball, but I was in the football locker rooms for the Browns. I distinctly remember on the door, right when you walked in, because I would read all of that, and there's no gambling. I mean, they couldn't be more clear. They really couldn't have. It's everywhere inside the locker rooms. So, he knew, and he broke the rules.
He knew,
It
and
stinks.
he paid the price. He paid a very, very heavy price, and he had to live with that throughout the entirety of his life.
That's why,
And
like what you said, putting him in now, his lifetime ban is over, right?
true. I mean, you can make
I
a
mean,
case that he's instantly eligible.
yeah. I mean, so,
So I don't
but
I
to
don't
put
know
him
that's
in
right to
now,
do. I think he
that's right.
deserves a spot. He probably deserves a whole wing, but from a humanitarian standpoint, I don't know that you could do that for him. But maybe his family feels different, that they would like to see him someday, and maybe they've reconciled that.
It's possible. Sure.
So Pete Rose, this story from our friend Rich Miller at Sports Collectors Daily, indicating that Pete signed all the way up until the end.
Sure did.
This photo was taken yesterday, in fact. With some of his former
Really?
teammates there, Dave Concepcion.
Hmm.
We saw Pete, as you mentioned, at the National, and Wade Boggs was there at the National as well. I'm sure he was happy to see Pete. I know I shared this story before, but as you said, you and I have been very fortunate to be in locker rooms, to be a part and around athletes in some really unique situations we feel blessed to. And at the National here in Cleveland, I happened to be in a room behind the scenes, was waiting to talk to Carlos Baerga. We shared that interview previously on this show. And there's a room where athletes are coming, they're signing, they're taking a break, they're taking a pause. And Pete Rose walks in as Dan Marino's walking out, and those guys catch eyes and share a laugh and share a moment. Pete goes to sit down, and then Carlos comes over and talks to him. He takes the opportunity to talk to him, and I'm kind of minding my own business, but I'm probably 12 feet away, and all of a sudden I hear the guy brushes past me and makes a right, and I hear Carlos start to yell, and he goes, Ricky, Ricky, Ricky. And the guy turns around, and it's Ricky Henderson. And he kind of shouts at him. He's playful, but he says, Ricky, you don't walk by the Hit King and not say hello. And Ricky, he's got his sunglasses on. He turns around, he realizes Pete Rose is sitting there, and he goes, Ricky didn't see you, Pete. And so they shared a moment. So
That's funny.
it's hard to believe that. I mean, that was 2 months ago, and he
Right.
was there. He was signing autographs all the way up into that. But remarkable career, remarkable legacy, and he'll be remembered forever for one reason or another.
Yeah, absolutely. And his cards are collected. His 1963 rookie card is a really iconic card, and it sells for tremendous dollars every time that I get them. And his playing day cards, and he didn't have cards for a long time, being banned from baseball, but recently he's had some unlicensed cards, and he's had some autographs that have come out through the years. So yeah, those things will be forever collected.
So we're going to recap the Medina County Collectors Fair here in a little bit. Before we do that, we want to talk about some upcoming shows
Sure.
that will be coming up here. Of course, this weekend, you're back in Kirtland, the show where everybody knows your name. What's going on there in Kirtland, Ohio?
Yeah, this is our Halloween show. It's October 5th, this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is just a nice, fun family atmosphere. You know, people come in, they hang out. It's free admission. It's free parking. We'll have some food there. You know, there's a concession stand that they do, but it's just a nice, relaxed atmosphere. There's a lot of cards there. You can sit and dig through some of the guys' quarter boxes. I think like there's even nickel boxes there, all the way to high end Tom Brady autographs that will be at this show. We have some Pokemon vendors that come, and it's for the east side of Cleveland. It's a terrific little show. I think we're at 40 tables, and you know we get a couple hundred people through the door, and they just have a nice time. They buy, sell, trade, talk about the sports, and you know we have people that are there pretty much all day just hanging out.
So that'll be this weekend, and then the following weekend, you've got a big show in Nashville that you and some of the team will be going down to. Talk about the Nashville
Yeah,
Card Show.
the Nashville Card Show put on by Jeff Roberts. He does an unbelievable job. I think they do this show 3 times a year, and we do it once or twice every single year. We have a nice rapport with Jeff, and we have a nice location that we have in this show. I think we have 4 tables this time, and we're gonna bring some stuff for people to pick through and showcase wise. But I mean, yeah, he brings a powerful punch to this show. I think there's going to be over 800 tables. I mean, you can see in the top right 300 vendors, and you know if you're a vendor there, you know Ricky Line, and he gets you in and out of that show quickly. But you know, Grand Slams there, an underdog, and check out my cards. I think, yeah, if I'm looking at the flyers, SGC is going to be there. I think Beckett's there. So they have a lot to choose from. The grading submissions, I'm sure, you know, well, it doesn't say JSA, but they're usually there. So they may have not updated that. But just a great show. A lot of people come from all over to this 3 times a year, and yeah, we can't wait to go. 800 tables, and I mean we'll be ready to go and buying and selling all weekend there.
Very cool. And then on the heels of that, another friend of ours in the show, Brad Beeman, talk about the In the Fort Card Show in Fort Wayne coming up here.
Yeah, that's his branch out of the Shipshewana show. So Fort Wayne in the fort. I know he did it last year on Black Friday, and this year he's doing it a little bit earlier at the Sports One Field House. And we are so happy to be involved in this show. And you know when he announced it, I reached out to Brad and said, you know, I'd love to be a part of this. So we're going to have a presence there, some tables to wheel and deal, and maybe do some sort of giveaway with them there. But one thing I did wanted to mention, so we did our trade night in Medina on Friday night, and you know it was decent. We had a nice little turnout. I think there was about 75 people there, but one of those 75 was Brad, and he drove in from Fort Wayne to hang out with us for our trade night. And I mean, I couldn't be happier to have him as a friend to come and hang out and show some support. And you know, there's things that sometimes people just they do that they don't have to do, and that was really special to have him come to that show, and we appreciated him doing that. And you know, we love going to his show. We go to Shipshewana as much as we can, and this show at the in the Fort Card Show, we're going to be happy to be a part of this one as well.
Lots of recognizable names popping up. It's quite a community, you know, not just here locally and regionally, but you can see where the tentacles are expanding into Nashville and across to Fort Wayne and Shipshewana and across the country. We see TNT, who's been a part of the shows and our broadcast here, Sports Cards
Yep.
Machines. We saw, you know, of course, Brad and B Sports and ComC you mentioned, and it's just pretty cool to see these businesses grow and working with good people and seeing everybody trying to move the hobby forward.
It is. And that's one good thing that we have is the relationships that we build across the country. And and people that promote these shows, the Jeff Roberts, like we just talked about in Nashville, and Brad Beeman, Jeff Mayrose, who does the Midwest Monster, the Burbank show, and our friends that run the National and the Chantilly and the Long Island. So we have, and not to mention all the guys here locally here in Northeast Ohio that we get along with, that do their shows, and Strongsville and Canton and Hartville and the Medio show, and so there's a lot to be thankful for with the relationships that we have with a lot of these guys. And even down in the Carolinas, they had a big show in Charlotte last week, and our friends at Inside Pitch, Wes, who we see at a lot of the shows around the country. So yeah, glad to be a part of some of these. And next year in 2025, we might have a couple more surprise shows, and some other ones that we're going to go out to, that like the South Bend show that we go out to as well, and Haley that they promote. So yeah, we can't wait for next year and to be a part of a lot of these shows.
Very cool. Very cool. So, one of those shows being the Medina County Collectors Fair that took place this past weekend. We'll have a recap coming up with Daryl Ruiter from 92.3 The Fan and It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. And then we'll also have an exclusive interview with Cody Robinson conducted by Kenny Roda of WHBC in Canton. And Kenny got to talk to Cody, who played Michael Myers, the iconic character from Halloween. So there'll be some insight there. So you want to stick around for that. In the meantime, Greenie, let's get to a little bit of hobby news here.
Sure.
We've got some stuff from Sports Collectors Daily, as I mentioned, as well as our friends at Collect. We had the good fortune to talk to Darren Ravel earlier this year. We saw him out at the National, and Will Stern we got to talk to as well, and some stuff. Why don't we start with Shohei Ohtani, who his 50th home run ball went up for auction. It's ongoing, and it's expected to top about 1.4 million. There is some controversy around this ball. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we've all read the reports of one guy catches it, or the kid that had his hand on the ball, and somebody else came away with it. And we've all seen the video. I don't know who had it, but I know that it's up for auction now. And I think the court said that whoever had it now that's whose ball it is. And at the end of the day, whoever's ball it is going to make some money, because I mean, maybe the best offensive game we have ever seen amongst the season that Ohtani had. I think that game he went 6 for 6 with 3 home runs and 10 RBIs, and might even stole 2 bases in that game too. I don't remember, but like, unbelievable season that this guy has had. And 50-50, and I think he's close to having 50 doubles, but I don't know if he quite got there. But yeah, I mean, and then you got to think, how do you let this guy pitch next year? Right? Like, just let him swing the bat. But
he's been called the modern day Babe Ruth. It kind of makes sense. Babe was George Herman Ruth was such a dominant pitcher in his day, which at some point he stopped throwing as well. There was probably the reasoning behind that. That's a lot of money, $1.4 million. Those guys can split it and go home happy, I would think, in some settlement. But
that's life-changing
approaching
money.
that number as well is some news close to home. LeBron James, of course, from Akron, Ohio. Everybody knows that. His chosen one Sports Illustrated cover jersey fetched $1.3 million in a recent auction.
Wow. It kind of goes without saying, right? I mean, what do you say about that? I mean, arguably one of the greatest players to ever play basketball is from Northeast Ohio. That's a jersey that he wore. And I mean, I don't know that it gets better than that, because you could have his Cavaliers Game 7 jersey. But, as far as high school and the accomplishments he's had here, whoever bought that is pretty happy to own it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know, he's still playing. He's got a new chapter to his story with LeBron James Jr. joining him this year on the Lakers. But I can't imagine there will ever be another story from start to finish with the recognition at such an early age and the pressure that this young man was under at 16, 17, 18 years old, and to come into the NBA with those expectations and not only deliver on those, but actually exceed those expectations. He went from this jersey on the cover of Sports Illustrated being named the chosen one to leading the NBA in all-time points scored, and he's going to continue to pile on that. And he's got championships, and he's in the conversation for the greatest ever, greatest of all time. And he's going to have this legacy with the father-son duo. I can't imagine there's going to be another career that touches that from a storyline standpoint.
Probably not. Probably not. I know when he was in high school, I had a chance to see him play a couple times. I saw, can't remember where I saw the first game at, but I saw him play at the Cleveland Convocation Center, now the Wolstein Center, in a I don't think it was a playoff game. I actually think they played Oak Hill. I don't remember if Carmelo was in that game or not, but watching him in high school, it was clear. A, he wasn't going to college, and B, he was going to be a really good basketball player.
No doubt. I was not at that Oak Hill game, but I was fortunate enough to see him at the Wolstein Center against Charles F. Brush, my alma mater. After spending 2 years at Cleveland Heights, I graduated from Brush, and we got to see him play against Roy Hall in that game, who went on to play wide receiver at Ohio State. And there was a pretty hard foul late in the game. Game was probably out of reach. Things got a little testy. LeBron's on a breakaway. Hall fouls him pretty hard, and Gloria got up off the bleachers, her seat in the stand, and actually ran on the court. And it was one of those moments of you're watching greatness, and you're also going, "Oh man, this can't happen either." But very fortunate to have seen LeBron play from such an early age, and then certainly in this area, we saw the storyline progress, and you had the Hummer episode and the Jersey episode, and he got through that. And again, it's just a remarkable thread from when he was 15, 16 years old, freshman, leading St. Vincent St. Mary's to championships, and then leading the Miami Heat to championships, and ultimately coming home to Cleveland, and then the Los Angeles Lakers adding to his legacy. So let's touch on one more story from the hardwood, and then we'll jump over to the Medina County Collectors Fair. This is an interesting one from the hobby standpoint. There's a documentary with the Menendez brothers that has come out on Netflix, and there's a story behind this card. Why don't you share, for those that don't know, why this card is so prominent in the hobby industry?
Yeah, and on the surface, that's just a 1990 Hoops Mark Jackson card of the New York Knicks. The game was played in New York, and I'm going to try to show you. I know you can't see my cursor, but to the right of Mark Jackson, there are two guys sitting there, one with a hat and one without, and those happen to be the Menendez brothers sitting there courtside. And I can't remember. It's like literally a day, two, or within the same week of when they killed their parents. They were sitting courtside at this Knicks game, and I guess it's their rookie card, if you want to call it that. But it's become kind of a thing to kind of look to see it when there's crowds in these cards, who's in the background, and the Menendez brothers being in this background, and pop culture, people collect anything. And, this Mark Jackson card, well, you probably would have never bought it out of a 10-cent bin, now fetches in the $10, $20 range, sometimes more, depending on its condition.
Pretty remarkable. My recollection as well is that they attended this game after committing the heinous crime of killing their parents, and then it's why it makes this so notorious. I had a chance to talk to Anthony Lima from 92.3 The Fan a little bit last week. He had watched this. He was enthralled with it, and the one thing that stuck out on his commentary is that he had mentioned that he had forgotten so many details about the Menendez brothers and what had happened. And his insight was that for the last probably 10, 12, 15 years, everything we see or any pop culture incident happens in real time, and we see it on social media and it's documented on the internet, and we kind of live through it and live through all the details, and then it becomes yesterday's news and we move on to the next thing. This particular incident happened well before social media and the proliferation of all the details. So his commentary was how much he had actually forgotten about what had happened, and that's why I think a documentary like this was so impressive. And to that end, probably the reason I was so enthralled with the Michael Jordan 10-part series, because you kind of live through that, but you forget all the things that happened because you don't have access to this stuff in real time.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. And think, the O.J. Simpson when we were in college. So yeah, there's a lot of things that you forget, and to have a Netflix series like that, and the pop culture thing it's kind of what everybody craves.
So the Medina County Collectors Fair, we're going to show a quick recap here. Why don't I run this and then we'll come back and get your general thoughts on this, Greenie.
Sure.
All right, we were joined by Daryl Ruiter, Cleveland's beat reporter from Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan, Odyssey, and It's Always Game Day in Cleveland. Let's get a little bit of his insight as he sat with us out at the show this weekend. Good afternoon, world. We are live from the Medina County Collectors Fair, where there are some upwards, if not over 150 tables of pop culture, sports, Pokemon, comic books. Gentlemen, what are your first thoughts? I'll throw to you, Daryl. What do you think when you come out to one of these shows?
Hide my wallet. There's so many great things. A lot of autographed jerseys if you're into collecting those. Funko Pops. There's you can't escape the Funko Pops out here. Right now, I'm looking at a table. They've got Marvel comics, DC comics, Star Wars comics, just the variety. And that's just in addition to the baseball cards and things like that. But there's all kinds of, I saw an entire collection of Beatles 45s out here.
Yeah, that guy has an unbelievable collection.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff. Hide my wallet, please. Someone take it from me so that I don't spend what I don't have.
Yeah, there's an incredible amount of stuff. And when we thought about this, about a year ago with our friends at Operation Fandom, we thought, why don't we try something unique where we bring everything under one roof and see how it works. And we kind of, the phrase, you throw enough stuff against the wall, something's going to stick. And this has.
Just the variety of stuff.
There's tables of just toys, like even the old Transformers. I saw Legos.
They were trading Pokemon stuffed toys, I saw.
That's right.
I was walking by a table and youngster walked up, had two of these stuffed Pokemon toys, and I guess one of them was really super rare or whatever.
That's right.
The gentleman that was running the table was just so excited over a Pokemon toy, but
everything
really
has
cool.
Value to people.
Yeah,
and it's all in limited quantities, right? So that toy was probably produced in limited quantities, and it carries a value just like anything else, like cards and comics.
I should have brought my Cleveland Indians Beanie Baby giveaway from 1991 that I have somewhere in my house.
They made those Browns McDonald's ones back in the day, those McDonald's dog pound things. Just now, a gentleman walked by the name of Paul Landis. He's actually here with his book.
Here we go. The The final witness, Paul Landis, a Kennedy Secret Service agent, break his silence. There you go. He's here. He'll
sign it.
He'll sign it for you. But yeah, there you go.
But he was right behind John F. Kennedy's car when
it happened.
When it happened, yeah. I don't know how else to say that, but we know what happened. You all know what happened.
Anyone that's read a history book knows what happened that
That's
day.
right.
But
yeah, you really don't get a more firsthand account than that of what happened that day. I'll have you show these. We also
okay.
have
Yep.
cards.
Yeah, all right. We got cards here.
So these cards are of the actors. So we
okay.
actually made these. Is that Tammy Aaron?
Yeah, there you go.
Pippi Longstocking.
Jeepers Creepers here. I'll go through these. The guy under the Scream mask.
He also stunt doubled Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump, as you can see.
Okay. Patricia Peters.
She doubled Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
This is Cody Robinson, played Michael Myers in Halloween back in 2018. There you go. And then another Scream mask guy.
Show exclusive cards, limited edition. I can tell you only 100 of these sets were made.
Okay.
There's great conversations taking place on the floor. There's plenty of deals to be had. I tried to walk down most of the aisles. There's some amazing stuff out there, if you guys can see. But our thanks to Daryl Ruiter for joining us today. Daryl from Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan and It's Always Game Day in Cleveland, along with your partner, Andy Baskin. You can get that on the Odyssey app. So, Daryl, thank you for your support, as always, on behalf of Greenie Sports Cards. And for now, that's it. It's a wrap for the Medina County Collectors Fair, this version of Greenie Sports Cards Lives. We will see you again soon.
So real soon, here we are. Greenie, I couldn't escape the Funko Pops either. This was my guilty purchase. I got a Brutus Buckeye to add to my very small collection, but there's the dude. He joined us on Saturday as well. Our thanks to the dude from Hobby, Ohio for coming out, checking out the show. Greenie, quick thoughts on the recap, and then we'll get to the exclusive interview with Kenny Roda and Cody Robinson.
Yeah, it was an experience, as we've provided for some people in the last couple events. I mean, you had sports cards and you had Funko Pops. You had Stephen Madonna with the Beatles records, which we'll get to in the next one of the next few shows. But the amount of the toys and the Funkos and the Pokemon, there was a lot of Pokemon there, and I saw a lot of big deals, like for high dollars went down in Pokemon. And then our actors that were there were terrific. We didn't have a camera on us Saturday night when we got to go out to dinner with all of them. And, Cody Robinson, who we'll have here in this interview, is a big Alabama fan. And we were watching the game with him and, just hanging out. And I sat with Alan Robinson for, 20 minutes and just chatted about nothing about acting and about cards, just, generalizations. And they're down to earth people just like us. And to have that experience was pretty special. And the show is the reason that experience was able to happen. But then even for the customers who got to hang out and, meet and greet and take pictures with Tammy Aaron and her Pippi Longstocking costume, and with Alan and his ghost face, and Matthew and, Kevin Ball and what he does now with the WWE, and Patricia. It was a terrific event. And not to mention our wrestlers, Chelsea and Sebastian and Paul Landis, with the author writing the book. I mean, there was something for everybody.
There was. It was very cool. So we're going to get to the interview here. Our thanks to Kenny Roda, who jumped in and interviewed Cody Robinson. Let's take a look at that, and then that may take us up to the end of the show here this evening.
Here at the Medina County Collectors Fair at the Medina County Fairgrounds Community Center, Saturday afternoon. Buckeyes don't play till 7:30. You should be out here enjoying this with us, having a great time. Sports cards, comic books, and movie stars. And I'm a huge horror film fan. If anybody listens to the Kenny and JT show on WHBC, they know that my all-time favorite movie, the scariest movie ever made, was Halloween. All right. And this has become a franchise that is a big time moneymaker. And the scariest character in movie history is Michael Myers. And sitting next to me, you finally get to see what Michael Myers looks like, because sitting next to me from Halloween 2018 is stunt actor, stunt man, stunt double, all of the above, Cody Robinson, joining me today to talk about one of my favorite movies and franchises. How you doing, Cody?
I'm doing great, man.
Yeah, this for you. Do you have fun when you come out here and your fans of the movie get to see you, and then, like I am right now, converse with you about the movie?
Well, I'm pretty much brand new to these cons. It's my second one, but man, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. The fans are always great when you come out to these things. Everybody's super respectful, super interested. Kind of makes you feel important for a little bit, and get to add to everybody else's collections, get to add to all their happiness. So
right,
I'm enjoying it, man. The atmosphere is great.
Yeah, and Greenie, GreenieSportsCards.com. Look at this. Got your own card too. Greenie made up. You gotta love that. So Greenie does that and does a great job, and that's why I love coming out to these with Greenie and his entire staff. So when I saw this and he said you were going to be here, I'm like, okay, I'm coming on Saturday for sure. I got to talk to him to find out what it's like to be on the set of a movie like that and to play such an iconic character who doesn't say a word but steals the movie, in my opinion. So let's go back to, how did you get the opportunity to play in Halloween 2018 and be Michael Myers, or the Shape, whatever they call them these days?
Well, I've been doing stunts for, like, professionally full time for a little over 11 years. And at the time, so in 2018, it would have been probably, I don't know, 5 years at the time. I'd worked with a bunch of different stunt coordinators, and one of the stunt coordinators I worked for was on The Walking Dead.
Okay.
And he recommended me to another coordinator that was flown in from California to do the reshoots for a movie. And on the way to the reshoots, I wasn't told what it was, but I was doubling a guy. I was told it was my height and weight. And I was like, okay, by the way, what movie is it? And then finally he goes, oh, it's the new Halloween movie. You're going to be Michael Myers. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Well, I mean, that worked out perfectly, because, I was like, I've always been super interested in slasher films and horror in general. And my degree was in criminology. So I love, like,
oh, wow.
I love studying, like, serial killers and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh man, I was kind of prepared for doing this my entire life. And, I come from a martial arts background, so I know how to do damage. So, but it was a sense to get to channel all that, kind of like aggression, but also that kind of like, that otherworldly, like kind of evil kind of like persona in the physicality of the role. So I found out as I was on the way, and it was 2 weeks of reshoots, because all the action for the 2018 movie was shot in the reshoots. So I ended up doing a bunch of different stuff. Yeah, so it was fun.
2018, the original came out in 78. So this is a movie and a franchise that has stood the test of time.
Legacy.
Right. How aware were you of how huge this franchise was?
I knew it was a household name. I knew that, like, it was, and I had grown up watching them and stuff too. I'd probably seen it a few times from on TV and things the other day. I probably didn't get to watch it because I grew up in a Baptist family, so we didn't get to watch all the horror movies unless they were on television. But later on, I got really into horror, especially when I was in college and a little bit later. My wife and stuff doesn't like horror, so I didn't get to watch them as much.
Right.
But now my kids love horror, so at least my daughter really loves horror. So we watch probably one a week during September and October leading up to it. I didn't know it was such as a big deal in, like, the collection worlds and stuff until I worked in the industry a little bit, and I noticed some people were going to cons and they talked about how much fun it was and how much of a culture there was around it and how much of a business there was around it. And I was just like, that'd be cool to do one day. But I never thought for sure that I'd be doing a con. Like, I just thought, I'm going to be a stunt guy.
Right.
I think of it like a blue collar job, like I go in there, I take my licks and I, get my check and I go. But to get to go to something that people actually care what I did, that's fun. That's a lot of fun, because a lot of time in stunts, you're the replaceable guy. You're the guy that, anybody could do it, because anybody can get hurt and just go home, and they can pay somebody else to do it the next time. But you're trying to make a career out of it. So to get appreciated for that, and have people kind of come in and be interested in what you did specifically, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It kind of makes you feel good.
All right. So earlier I talked with Alan Robinson. We got Robinsons all over the place here in Medina, Ohio. And of course, he was Ghostface. So another horror movie, right? And he was telling the story of how he had to kind of act with the mask on and everything like that.
Yeah.
So take me through that, because one of the most iconic scenes in the first ever
Mhm.
Halloween is, it's near the end, and Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode thinks she's killed him,
Yeah.
and he's laying, back there, and then the music, which is, some of the greatest music up there with Rocky and Star Wars. He just gets up and then turns the head, and it scared the bejesus out of me. So
Yeah.
for you,
Yeah.
the acting that goes in, even though you're wearing a mask, take me through, those processes, I guess.
Well, so what I did is I've studied a lot of serial killers over the years. Something I've always been hugely interested in. So just wondering where that evil comes from. So but to me, it's like I've learned over the years that certain characters, there's different archetypes of killers, and Michael is definitely the 1,000-yard stare psychopath.
Right.
So that kind of person where the humanity is left, like the soul is left, and it's just like literally acting like animalistic, just go 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 go, and nonstop. But it also you don't feel as much pain, all that other kind of stuff. So I kind of channeled that in what I was doing. But also in my experience as a police officer, I used to be a cop for 5 years.
Really?
So I've seen the
Okay.
face of evil, people that were absolutely done terrible things, and I channeled what I saw in their eyes, like people that have done really awful things. Channel what was in their eyes, and what was in their eyes was never hurt. It was never like there was nothing complex there. It was very much a base level, like just humanity has left this body.
No sorrow, no
The people that have done the worst stuff,
Okay.
it didn't even phase them.
Okay.
It's like breathing. It's like breathing in them. So when I channeled what I was going to do for Michael, obviously I was doubling James Duke Courtney, so I was trying to mesh with what he was doing.
Okay.
So there was always that part combined, but there are other parts where the body acting and stuff, and you realize you have to use your body and your neck and the way that your eye contact goes in certain ways, and staring past people. If you're looking towards the camera, you're never looking at anybody. The eyes have to be a little bit wider and not as focused. 1,000-yard stare, we call it. So
Right.
That's what you're always told when you're policing, that like if somebody gives you the 1,000-yard stare, you better back up.
Okay.
Because like something's about to go down. Humanity has left the body.
Wow.
So I channeled all that for
Wow.
what I was doing, and I have a history of martial arts too. So the movement, I've always been really interested in like copying someone else's movement or finding a way to do it myself. So I've done a couple different roles over the years for different things that I had to do that.
This is awesome. Cody Robinson is our guest here, and we're live out here at the Medina County Collectors Fair. That runs till 6 o'clock on Saturday night here. If you're watching live, you got a little time left tonight. 10 to 4 tomorrow. I love the card again. Greenie, great job as always doing the cards and everything with the mask behind it. And I told you off the air, what's cool for me in talking to you and hearing those stories is a couple of months ago, had the opportunity to interview William Shatner.
Oh yeah.
Right? I can
Yeah.
call him Bill now. We're friends.
Yeah, Billy.
Okay, so Bill, right? So
William.
I meet him, and I found out you were going to be here today. So I'm thinking, wait a second. I was a huge Boston legal fan. Denny Crane. William Shatner was in that TV series, right? So but his face, the mask that you wore and all the Michael Myers guys wore,
Yep.
it is the mask and face of William Shatner. So within a few months' time, I've met William Shatner, the mask that it was made from, and now the guy who wears the mask in one of the Halloween movies. Did you know it was a William Shatner mask?
So I did not know that piece of trivia until I was about to put it on. And so the guy that was there, I'm just going to kill me for forgetting his name, but he's iconic. And he told me, he's like, this is based on the Captain Kirk mask from, I was like, what? I never knew that. I didn't put two and two together until I literally was put the mask on.
Yeah, you can see if you look at it now. You get
it's like a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
But I grew up I was born in '85, so
okay.
I didn't experience the original Captain Kirk.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, absolutely. When you did the movie, all right, and it's finished, and then you see the finished product. All right, I'm always curious what actors think, whether they're stunt doubles, stunt actors, lead actors, fill-ins, whatever it is. When you go and see it, what's going through your mind as you're watching it? Are you watching it as a movie as a whole, or are you looking to see where you're at? How does that work?
It's always a combination. It's like if it's a movie that I was already super interested to see,
yeah,
then I try to take myself out of it and just watch the movie because I love the movie. But if it's something that like I'm really concerned with my performance, like I want to make sure I do the right thing,
yep,
or I'm not as interested in the movie itself, but I wanted to see what parts that actually made the movie, then I'll focus on that. But it's always a combination of both, really. But with Halloween, it was like I really just wanted to go enjoy the movie. I wanted to feel the same way that I did watching the originals. Like I wanted to feel kind of like I didn't care if I was in it in the moment. I just wanted to see, do I like the movie? And I did. I liked the 2018 one. And it's but like absolutely, it's just one of those things that like you can't help but look for yourself. Plus, when I go see it, I see it with my family, so they're all like, "You gotta tell us exactly where you are. You gotta bump me whenever it's you." And it's like, so I always like kind of bump my wife when it's like, you know, when it's me on the stage. So on the screen.
The movie itself, like I said, has stood the test of time because there's so many, and Jamie Lee's still with us, and she's still doing a bunch of them and everything. I'm always curious because I hear different things that sometimes you're actually working with them, sometimes it's you by yourself and you're acting. So I don't know if you can give this away or it doesn't matter, but for you in your role in Halloween 2018, are you interacting or is that you by yourself, or what happened?
So like in the fight scene with Jamie Lee, so we did a fight scene in the kitchen, and I'll tell everybody this. Jamie Lee remembered the choreography better than I did, and better than any other stunt people I've ever met in my life. Like I showed her the choreography once, and she never messed up. Like she really never messed up, and she like takes all the like. She has this like kind of way of remembering it. Like it's like I think she was a dancer in the past. Okay. So she has like this way of remembering what the choreography was, and I was absolutely in awe of like, how did you do that? You just remembered the choreography like that, and it wasn't simple choreography. It was just beats, but like most actors would take some time to remember that, and she was an angel on set, absolutely perfect, concerned about everybody else all the time, and then remembered all of her choreography and killed it. Did all of her own strikes and stuff. Like knows how to line things up for camera. Just a total professional, but like, you know, you feel like you're just working with one of your good friends, right? You know, because she's so genuine, but also so professional and good at what she does. It was pretty amazing. I was blown away.
Well, horror movies run in her family, right? Her mom from Psycho to her, and now she's still doing the Halloween. And who knows? Maybe there'll be more. You know, Halloweens. We always hear this is the last one, but then Michael somehow, some way rises from the ashes.
That's the point.
And he's back. What has it done for your career? No, I mean, you have that on your credit list there.
I mean, yeah, it's done a lot recently. I guess I've been starting to do cons recently, so that's been good. Yeah. It also is, you know, it gives me some. It's kind of cool to be able to tell people that, you know, whenever you're talking to a stunt coordinator and you're trying to get a job on a show or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, what'd you do on Halloween?" And you're like, "Well, I was Michael Myers," and they're like, "Oh," and then it kind of gives you, I don't know if it's earned, but you know, it kind of gives you a little bit more clout. So that's sure. That's fun. That's a really good experience. But I've done other stuff too. I was a Talon for CW's Gotham Knights, the Batman series. Right. So that was the main assassin bad guy that was trying to kill him the whole time. I was the Collector in the third Collector movie that hasn't come out yet. I did that. Doubled Thor and Infinity War 3 a little bit. Like he had a bunch of doubles, but I was one of them. I doubled. King Cobra for the new Captain America 4, all this kind of thing. So what, it's getting your foot in the door, right? And then networking and meeting people, especially stunt coordinators, and then they call you back. It's pockets, right? It's pockets. It's not like it's not this one industry thing to get you in. You get in pockets with people, and then when you gain trust and show what you can do, and you're right for the role, then maybe they'll suggest you for a role. That's awesome. That's how it works. That's great. Every time I do an interview, I do the selfie thing. I'm an old guy, but I'm learning how to do these things here. So we'll do this one real quick. Yeah, I know, right? Crazy. But this is awesome. Congratulations on your success. Congratulations on your second con, and hopefully there'll be many more to come. And we appreciate the time you spent with us today. Thank you. There he is, man. Cody Robinson, Michael Myers. Doesn't look like Michael Myers, but go look at that mask, and when you think of it, you'll think of him as one of the most iconic horror movie characters ever in cinematic history.
There you go, Greenie.
So, there you go. He was a fun guy. He was. And we've got much more to come from the Medina County Collectors Fair. Lots more to talk about. In the meantime, our thanks to Haley behind the board this evening. Our thanks to Daryl Ruiter and Kenny Roda who joined us. Thanks to Cody Robinson. You'll be able to see that interview again. Twins and Friends. Thanks to Sports Collectors Daily and Collect Media for their contributions, allowing us to use some of that content there. And
that'll do it for us this evening. Greenie, auction tonight with Alex on eBay Live. You want to jump on
9 p.m.
that at 9 p.m. Eastern. So go to eBay Live, look for the Greenie banner, and jump in there. He's got all kinds of auctions tonight. So a little bit long tonight, but really, really awesome content. Greenie, as always, it is awesome spending Tuesday nights with you, and can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. And thanks most of all to you for listening.
Have a good night, everybody.